Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my August wrap up. I'm sorry I haven't wrapped up throughout the month as many books as I normally would. It's been a bit of a busy month. We've been away for quite a long time. We went to Dorset and then we went to Devon with various cousins and grandparents, which was lovely, but it just meant that I didn't have a chance to sort of film and do things like that. I just sort of took a bit of a break from that. However, I didn't take a break from reading and I did some really good reading this month. So if you've been watching, you know I'm doing this Snakes and Ladders Picks My TBR. So I had a TBR set for the month, and out of all of those books that were on that TBR, there were only 3 left over that I didn't manage to get to, and that was just purely a time factor. It wasn't that I hadn't read them, so I am rolling them over into next month, and in fact I'm already halfway through one of them, so I will be getting to those in the next month in my sort of rollover. And if you've seen my video for my TBR for September, you'll know the books that I'm reading for September. So let's just see the books that I read this month, were there any good ones or any bad ones, and what did I read. So I read 19 things this month, which I'm really pleased with, and I always read quite a lot in August because I'm on school holidays, so it means that I've got a lot more time to devote to reading. I had quite a nice cross-section really of books this month. I had 7 YA, 3 graphic novels, 3 general fiction, 5 science fiction and fantasy, which is not a surprise really, because I did go to Worldcon, which is a science fiction and fantasy lovers convention, so I read 5 science fiction and fantasy. I think most, if not all of those, were YA science fiction and fantasy, which tends to be the area of SFF that I really enjoy. I also read 1 thriller. So this month I managed to have 2 5-star reads, which is really good, and I'll talk to you about them a bit in a minute. 11 4-star reads. 4-star seems to be my sort of main level of book that I've been reading this year. I seem to be reading a lot more 4 stars than any other. I'd really like to be reading more 5 stars, but I'm happy with 4 stars. They're books that I've really enjoyed and maybe just haven't quite got to the sort of best books. I've read 4 3-star books, which is really good. And then unfortunately, I don't read 1-star books very often. Normally I would have DNF'd a book before it gets to 1 star. But there was various reasons why these 2 1-star books this month were read in completion. And so if I give a 1 star, it generally means for whatever reason I didn't DNF it. Maybe I was doing a buddy read, which is the case with one of these, or it was a short book and I just wanted to get through it, or I was hoping it would get better. But these are books that I definitely wouldn't recommend and that I really didn't like at all, and I'll talk about those briefly as well at the end of this. But let's just quickly go through all of the different books. So the 1 stars were The Mister by E.L. James, and this is a book that I buddy read with Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. We both wanted to read this. We both quite liked, and in fact I quite enjoyed the 50 Shades of Grey books by this author. I know there's a bit of a sort of hit and miss about these, but I think if you take them for what they are sort of raunchy romance. Of course there's some problematic elements potentially in there, but at the time that I read them, which is when they originally came out, I just enjoyed them for what they were. A bit trashy, a bit, not very well written, but just easy to get through and quite enjoyable and quite good steamy scenes. And I quite enjoyed those, but I hadn't really been sort of wanting to pick up any more books by this author. I just thought, well, I quite like that series, but I'm not particularly going to follow all of this author's books. But I was in a W.H. Smith's in a, I think it was on the way somewhere in a service station, and I had picked up one which was on this buy one get one half price, and someone had said, the lady behind the till had said to me, oh, you've got to read this. I read it in a weekend, it was brilliant. So I thought, all right, well, I'll give it a go. And I hated it. I hated this book. It's a bit of a rehash of 50 Shades, but with a terrible, like even worse plot line. Basically, you've got this spoilt rich boy whose older brother has died, so he's now the lord. He's got loads and loads of money, doesn't really know what to do with it. He's a playboy that sleeps with everyone. And then you've got the girl that has come over from a European country. She's a virgin, she's had to come over here, she's been sex trafficked, she's shy, she's his cleaner, and she calls him the Mister. And she just got no backbone, and I just thought it was terrible. I just thought it was terrible. I really hated this. There was no redeeming feature. There was no steamy romance. There was sex when there didn't need to be sex. There was no chemistry between these two people. It was just cringeworthy. And the inner monologue by this man was just, oh, I mean, it set feminists back years. And she did. I mean, she's just, oh, I really hated it. So yeah, don't read this book, please. Don't read it. And I know that Sarah felt exactly the same. So yeah, we both, I think, are going to be telling you, do not read this. It's not worth your money. So I didn't enjoy that one. That was my first 1 star. My second 1 star was The Brightest Star by Anna Todd. And again, this is a book by an author who I quite enjoyed, the After series by Anna Todd. And again, I know that there's controversy between people who do and don't like this. I quite enjoyed them when I read them. Yeah, I enjoyed them. So I thought I'd pick this one up. It was sort of meant to be set in a sort of military base, and about a girl who's grown up around sort of all these military figures, and it's about her life and her meeting this sort of damaged man who's coming out of the army, and it was just terrible. It was really terrible. I didn't realise it. I think it's the first in a series, but it wasn't good. Again, there was no chemistry. There was just no chemistry between these people. I didn't get it. I just didn't understand this sort of insta love that was going on. There was no like build up of tension or anything. Yeah, I just didn't like it at all. So another one to go on the dud shelf. So those were my 2 1-star books. 3 stars went to Calling Dr. Laura, The White Rose, Small Town Hearts, and A Torch Against the Night. 4 stars went to Scars Like Wings, What Magic Is This, Giant Days Volume 9, The Jewel, Tulip Taylor, July Girls, The Black Key, The Tea Dragon Society, Anna Lee in Real Life, With a Fire on High, and An Ember in the Ashes. And my 2 5-star books were A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I just thought was so brilliant with loads of great twists and turns, and I've actually talked about this one in more detail, so I'll link that up above for you if you want to go and find out my full thoughts on that, as well as my other 5-star this month, which is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, and you can check out my thoughts on that in that video as well. And I really enjoyed both of these books for various different reasons. One is a romance set in Alaska, and the other one is about a girl who is delving into a local murder where she's not quite sure that all of the loose ends have been tied out properly, and that the perpetrator has been rightly accused. So she's delving into it for a school project, and it's really good. But that is what I read and how I did this month. I'm really enjoying my Snakes and Ladders TBR. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into next month. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out up above. I'll link it for you, and go along and see what Snakes and Ladders has picked for me next month. And I'm looking forward to making some videos this month to let you know how I get on, and doing some reviews, and hopefully having some 5 stars in there. Fingers crossed. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.